Detective James Calloway never got used to the late-night calls. They always carried bad news. Sometimes a break-in, sometimes a domestic gone wrong. But this one felt different the moment he answered. "Detective Calloway," he said, voice rough from too much coffee and not enough sleep. A woman's voice trembled on the other end. "Detective, it's Karen Reeves. My daughter. She's missing." He sat up straighter. "How long has she been gone?" "I don't know," Karen stammered. "The last time I spoke to her was 2 nights ago. I thought she was just busy with school, but something's wrong. She's not answering. Her friends haven't seen her." Calloway's pulse quickened. People went missing all the time in Los Angeles. Some ran away, some disappeared willingly, but something in Karen's voice told him this wasn't one of those cases. "Her name?" he asked, already reaching for his notepad. "Emily Reeves. She's 22. She goes to UCLA. She was supposed to meet her roommate at O'Malley's bar 2 nights ago, but she never showed." His pen hovered over the page. "She was going out that night?" "Yes, and she always texts me before bed," Karen said, voice breaking. "She didn't. She's never done that before." Calloway clenched his jaw. A college student not answering messages for a few hours wasn't uncommon, but 2 days? That was different. "Did you check her apartment?" "I tried. Her roommate Lisa let me in. Her phone is still there, Detective." His grip tightened on the receiver. "You're telling me her phone, her car, and her wallet are still there, but she isn't?" A sharp breath. "Yes." Calloway grabbed his coat. Something was very, very wrong. Before hanging up, he asked one last question. "Mrs. Reeves, when was the last time Emily's phone was used?" A pause. Then, barely above a whisper, "The last text she sent was at 9:47 p.m. Calloway's fingers tightened on his notepad. "What did it say?" Another pause. Then, Karen whispered, "Help." Detective Calloway pulled up in front of the Westwood apartment complex, its brick exterior illuminated by the dim glow of streetlights. It was the kind of place young professionals and college students called home. Cheap rent, thin walls, and the constant hum of life. But tonight, it felt eerily quiet. Lisa, Emily's roommate, met him at the door. Her eyes were puffy, her hands trembling as she hugged her arms close. "I still can't believe this," she stammered as she let him in. "Emily doesn't just disappear. She wouldn't do this." Calloway nodded, scanning the apartment. It was small but comfortable. 1 couch, a tiny kitchen, and a desk piled with books and notebooks. A laptop sat open, the screen black. A single lamp in the corner flickered slightly, giving the space an unsettling feel. "Did you touch anything?" he asked. Lisa shook her head. "No. I didn't want to mess anything up. I thought maybe she'd come back." Calloway stepped further in, his eyes moving over the details. A half-eaten sandwich sat on the coffee table next to a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Emily had been here. She had planned on coming back. He spotted her phone on the desk. The screen cracked. He picked it up, pressing the power button. Nothing. Battery dead. "Her car's still outside," Lisa said, as if reading his mind. "And her wallet's here, too." Calloway turned sharply. "Her wallet?" Lisa nodded and pointed to the desk. Calloway stepped closer and saw the black leather wallet sitting next to a stack of papers. He flipped it open. Driver's license, credit cards, $23 in cash. His stomach sank. People don't just walk out without their phone, wallet, and car. Not voluntarily. "Lisa, when was the last time you saw her?" Lisa swallowed. "Before she left for the bar. She was excited to go. She told me she'd meet me there around 10. "She never showed?" Lisa shook her head. "No, I texted her a bunch of times. The last message I sent was at 9:50 p.m. Calloway's jaw tensed. "Did she reply?" Lisa hesitated, then pointed at the dead phone in his hand. She read it," she whispered. "But she never answered." By the time Detective Calloway arrived at the UCLA Police Department, the media had already caught wind of Emily Reeves' disappearance. The story had spread fast. "Missing UCLA senior, last seen outside O'Malley's bar." Calloway ignored the reporters crowding the sidewalk as he stepped inside the precinct. He had no answers for them yet. Inside, Officer Delgado, a tech specialist, was hunched over multiple screens, scrubbing through hours of surveillance footage from the night Emily disappeared. "Tell me you found something," Calloway said, pulling up a chair. Delgado sighed. "It's not great, but it's something. We got footage from a traffic camera near O'Malley's and another from a gas station 2 blocks away." He hit play. The first video showed the sidewalk outside O'Malley's at 9:42 p.m. The camera's grainy quality made the details hard to make out, but Emily was there. She paced near the entrance, phone pressed to her ear, her body language tense. Calloway watched as Emily suddenly stopped mid-step, turning her head sharply to the left. Her posture stiffened. Then, without warning, she ran. His pulse quickened. "Rewind that," he ordered. Delgado replayed the footage. Emily wasn't just running, she was fleeing. A second later, another figure entered the frame, a tall person, hood up, face obscured. They moved quickly, following Emily. Calloway leaned in. "Do we have another angle?" Delgado nodded and pulled up the next video from the gas station. At 9:45 p.m., Emily sprinted into the frame, looking over her shoulder. She was panicked, desperate. She reached an intersection, and then she was gone, disappearing from the camera's view. A black SUV rolled by a moment later, no license plate visible. Calloway's stomach tightened. "Do we see where she goes?" Delgado shook his head. "No other cameras in that area, but there's one more thing." He pulled up Emily's last outgoing message, sent at 9:47 p.m. One word: help. Calloway exhaled slowly. Emily had tried to reach someone, but by 9:47, she was already in danger. And now, she was gone. Detective Calloway leaned against his desk, flipping through his notes on Emily Reeves. It had been 3 days since she vanished. The first 48 hours were the most crucial in a missing persons case, and they had already passed. Still, no ransom demands, no credit card activity, no calls from Emily. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. Then the letter arrived. A uniformed officer dropped it onto Calloway's desk. "This came in the mail, no return address." Calloway frowned and picked up the envelope. It was plain, unmarked, except for his name typed neatly on the front. No stamp, meaning someone had delivered it by hand. Carefully, he tore it open. Inside was a single piece of paper, its message typed in block letters. A slow chill crept up Calloway's spine. "He shouldn't have looked at what?" he muttered under his breath. The phrasing wasn't random. This wasn't a generic threat. It was a warning. Emily had been looking for something, and whatever it was, it had gotten her taken. Calloway grabbed Emily's laptop, still in evidence. With permission from her family, they had searched through her files earlier, but nothing unusual had stood out. Now he dug deeper. Her search history revealed something unsettling. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Emily had been researching how to retrieve deleted messages. Missing women in Los Angeles. Private investigator near me. His heart pounded. Emily wasn't just another missing person. She had been investigating someone else's disappearance. Calloway pulled up another file, the case of a missing woman named Sarah Collins, last seen 6 months ago. The details were eerily similar. No ransom, no leads, no trace. Was Emily's disappearance connected? Just then, his phone buzzed, a restricted number. He answered, "Calloway." Silence. Then, breathing. Then a whisper. Soft, trembling. Calloway shot up from his chair. "Emily?" A sharp click. The line went dead. His grip tightened around the phone. Emily was alive, but for how much longer? Detective Calloway sat in the dimly lit precinct, his fingers drumming against his desk as he reread the letter. She shouldn't have looked. It played over and over in his mind. Emily had uncovered something dangerous. He pulled up Sarah Collins' missing persons file. Last seen 6 months ago, a young woman in her 20s. No known enemies, no criminal record, just gone. Calloway scrolled through the case notes. Sarah had left work at a coffee shop around 9:30 p.m. She texted a friend saying she was heading home, but she never made it. It was eerily similar to Emily's case. Then a break. Calloway's phone buzzed. Officer Delgado had been scanning security footage from the area surrounding O'Malley's the night Emily vanished. "Detective, you're going to want to see this," Delgado said. At the station, Delgado pulled up a grainy clip from a gas station camera, time-stamped 9:45 p.m. Emily sprinted across the frame, her face twisted in panic. A black SUV trailed behind her. A moment later, the SUV stopped. Then Emily was gone. Calloway's stomach tightened. "Do we have a plate?" Delgado shook his head. "No front plate, but check this out." He zoomed in on the driver's side window. A man's face flashed for a brief second before the vehicle sped away. A scar along his jawline. Calloway's pulse quickened. He ran the image through facial recognition. One hit. Mason Carter. Ex-cop. Disgraced. Suspended 3 years ago for using excessive force. Charges were dropped, but he disappeared from law enforcement circles. And now, his face was behind the wheel of the car that took Emily. Calloway ran another search. Mason Carter's last known address was a cabin deep in the Angeles National Forest. A cold weight settled in his chest. Emily wasn't just missing. She had been taken. And if they didn't find her soon, she might not be found alive. Detective Calloway gripped the wheel as his car sped down the winding roads of the Angeles National Forest. The air was thick with tension, the towering trees casting long shadows under the dim glow of his headlights. Time was running out. The cabin was registered to Mason Carter's brother, but Calloway doubted it had seen many visitors. The place was isolated, the perfect spot to make someone disappear. His radio crackled to life. "Calloway, we're 10 minutes out," came Officer Delgado's voice. "You need to get here faster," Calloway snapped, pressing the gas. "Emily might not have 10 minutes. As he neared the property, he cut his headlights and parked a quarter-mile away. Stealth was key. If Carter knew they were coming, he might panic, and that could mean the end for Emily. Calloway moved quickly, his gun drawn, boots crunching softly against the dirt. The cabin came into view, a small, run-down structure with boarded-up windows. A single light glowed inside. Then a scream. "Emily!" Calloway's blood ran cold. He sprinted toward the back, spotting a basement window covered in grime. Peering in, he saw movement. Emily, tied to a chair, struggling against the ropes. And standing over her, Mason Carter. Calloway didn't hesitate. He kicked in the door. "LAPD, drop your weapon." Carter spun, reaching for something. Calloway fired. One shot. Carter crumpled to the ground. Breathing hard, Calloway rushed to Emily. "Emily, can you hear me?" He knelt, cutting the ropes from her wrists. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed, terrified. He said I knew too much." Calloway steadied her. "You're safe now." The sound of sirens filled the air as backup finally arrived. Delgado and a team of officers stormed in, securing the scene. Emily was safe, but Calloway knew this wasn't just about her anymore. She had uncovered something bigger, something that had already cost others their lives. And Mason Carter? He was just a piece of a much larger puzzle. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot.